I recently enjoyed reading a book by John Billman titled The Cold Vanish, which is about real-life cases of people who go missing in the wilderness without a trace. It is largely American-focused, but up in Canada we have our own vast, rugged, and mountainous wilderness, and many such cases here where people set off in the great outdoors, never to be seen again. Two such stories happened to be in my own backyard, and coincidentally enough, occurred in the same year, 2010. The first case is that of Tyler Wright near Squamish, and further up the highway north of Pemberton, the case of Jonathan Jette and Rachel Bagnall. I am intrigued by these stories because naturally I am curious, and because they leave you with many unanswered questions. What happens when someone doesn't return home? Was it a physical injury, slowly succumbing to thirst, hunger, or the elements? Did they end up far from where they started, lost and disoriented, unable to find their way back? How can hundreds of searchers, friends, family, SAR volunteers, RCMP, helicopters, and dog teams all turn up empty-handed? Was it an animal attack? Was it foul play by another human? Was it suicide? Was it extreme weather or unforeseen accident? Was it a planned disappearance, to start over new in some far-off foreign country? Let's start off in Squamish, at the headwaters of the Mamquam River. So almost 24 years ago, on August 10th, 2010, this is the spot where Tyler Wright set off on his own up and over Mamquam Pass. He was never seen from again. This here is a plaque that is set up in his memory, and it says, "Tyler Wright was a great friend and always full of life. On August 10, 2010, he set out here on an adventure. These images represent our fondest memories of him." And on this plaque, we have a car, we have Jesus Christ on the cross, another car, skiing, a motorbike, Hot Wheels, a dog, probably his dog, looks like a boxer, and I think this is a drafting table. It says Wright here, his last name, W-R-I-G-H-T. And on the bottom is a footprint, an enlarged footprint of his same shoe, his same Nike size 17 shoe. Down at the bottom here, somebody has left a Hot Wheels car. Maybe this is one of his friends or family members that have left this behind in his memory. Today I am going to follow the route Tyler was taking up and over Mamquam Pass. It's a place I've never been. I want to see it and check it out. And I'll go a little bit down the other side into that Fool's Gold route, down Boise Creek on the other side, the Boise Trail. And I'm not going to complete the whole thing today, but I'm just going to go have a look and, explore a new area where I've never been to yet. As you can see, these old logging spurs really get grown over fast. And I can tell people have come along and trimmed some of these alders, but they just fall right back into the road again, and they grow so fast that without regular maintenance, these old logging spurs disappear so quickly into the undergrowth. I'm literally in a tunnel of alder now. Let's start with the facts about Tyler that we do know. He was 35 years old, 6 foot 4 inches, Caucasian with blue eyes and a shaved head, and light blonde eyebrows. He was wearing a green toque and a green shirt. He also had a black zip-up fleece, gray pants, and red and blue socks. He was carrying a black backpack, black sunglasses, and a red Nalgene bottle. His footwear was gray and red Nike shoes, size 16. There's Gillespie, which I've been up a couple years ago. This is a cool angle of it. It's just this little vertical knob of rock. He goes by Ty for short and is noted to be an experienced hiker. It is rugged out here. It's more rugged than I expected. And the route is hard to follow. There are tags and flags on the trees, but it's not always obvious where the route's going next, and there's barely a footbed at all, so yeah, you really have to keep your eyes open to find the next marker in front of you. It's not very obvious. Tyler was expected home on August 16th, 2010. When he didn't show up, a search was launched by the Squamish RCMP and BC Search and Rescue Association on August 19th. This meant that helicopters, planes, ATVs, ground teams, and boats were now searching the vast area between Squamish and stretching southeast to Pitt Lake and the Coquitlam watershed, which is near Vancouver. The public was asked for information if anyone had recent sightings of Tyler. Family and friends made donations to pay for costly flight time and to support the search efforts. In addition, the helicopter search flights were filmed with fixed GoPros as they flew low and slow over the route. This video footage was uploaded and publicly viewable so that anyone could scour the videos for clues and alert SAR if they noticed anything out of place. A piece of clothing, a tent, fire ring, his blue tarp, a cairn of rocks, or logs constructed in a way that would signal a human built it. Boise Creek drainage, up Bull Creek and over Bull Pass, down to Beck Creek on the south side, the Coquitlam River and Homer Creek were all searched. A team of family and friends searched from the north end of Indian Arm, up Hickson Creek to Ann Lakes. No signs of Tyler were found. On August 29th, 12 days after starting the search, SAR and RCMP suspended the search for Tyler Wright. So here's evidence of an old fire ring at Mamquam Pass, and there is flat areas here to camp if you hike in here one day and camp at Mamquam Pass. There's some flat spots that are decent for pitching a tent. This is where the headwaters of the Mamquam River start, and on the other side it goes down to the Boise side, Boise Creek I think it's called. This is as far as I'm going to go today because it was a lot of work to get here. If I was going to keep following the Fool's Gold route, I'd drop about 500 meters down following Boise Creek. That's a lot of elevation to lose and regain this afternoon. Making it this far was an adventure already. There is lots of flags, but was there flagging back then? Was it marked? Was it more traveled? Could you possibly bump into someone? Today I've seen absolutely no one. So, you were out here on your own. Could it have possibly been a bear attack? Yeah, maybe. Could have been slipping on a creek crossing or on slippery rocks above water and getting washed downstream. It'd be very hard to find a body if it was washed downstream in a raging creek. All of these are viable possibilities. Getting lost and disoriented, that's another very real possibility. And you're far out there. You're far from help. It's a beautiful, but it's a very rugged area. And people need to be self-reliant. They need to be properly prepared. Although I didn't find any clues of Tyler on this outing, I did get a small sample of the area and the route he planned to take. The number of calls that Squamish SAR fielded last year in 2023 was 126 calls. This number will have been higher than back in 2010, as year over year the call volume has steadily increased in this region. North Shore Rescue set a record for number of calls in a year at 226 in 2021. The Wright family thanked the SAR volunteers for their professional and dedicated efforts, but also vowed to continue the search privately. It was now the beginning of September, and meanwhile up the highway just past Pemberton, 2 other people set off to camp in the mountains and were never seen again. So this morning I'm at the trailhead for Valentine Lake. It's up Spetch Creek Forest Service Road. And this morning there's a couple other vehicles parked here. Some people are out enjoying one of the first sunny weekends of autumn. And there was a few more vehicles parked down below the first washout. This is the spot that Jonathan Jette and his girlfriend Rachel Bagnall set off on September 4th, 2010 for a 3-day trip to Valentine Lake, and they never returned. Keep in mind, this is the same year, 2010, that Tyler Wright went missing over at Mamquam Pass in Squamish. So near the start of the trail, you come across this missing sign. It's got an RCMP file number on it. It's got an image of both Jonathan and Rachel, which is pretty great to see. I actually haven't seen an image of them so far, and it says at the bottom, if you come across anything that may be of interest or have any information, you are urged to contact the Pemberton RCMP, and it's got a phone number. September 2010. So after the trail climbs up into these flatter meadows, it levels out, and there's a whole lot of wet sections, so you might get your feet wet a little bit. You can see it was below freezing last night because a bunch of ice formed on this water, and yeah, it will be muddy.
Here are the facts. Jonathan was 34 years old from Longueuil, Quebec, and Rachel was 25 years old from Prince George, BC. She was in medicine at UBC and just completed her 3rd year. Jonathan was an attaché for the Quebec government working in Vancouver. They had met in BC and had been dating for a few months. The last purchase on Jonathan's bank card was at Tim Hortons in Squamish at 7:42 a.m. on September 4th as they drove up from Vancouver. Jonathan's 4-door Toyota Echo was found parked 1.2 kilometers up Spetch Creek Forest Service Road, the trailhead. They rock climbed together and were experienced at camping and hiking in the mountains.
So this is Valentine Lake. I think it's named that way because it is slightly heart-shaped, or at least seems that way from above. There are boulder fields and ridges from both Cassiope Peaks to the south and Saxifrage to the north. A little bit of dusting of snow up there. Tall, pointy, subalpine trees and meadows surround the lake, so it is a very peaceful place. I could see why Jonathan and Rachel came up here on their supposed 2-night adventure to camp and enjoy the tranquility of the mountains. Cold, clean water here in the lake. Here's a little sandy beach behind me. It's pretty cold here by the lake today as it's the end of September. So we climbed up higher than Valentine Lake now. We have a reflection on the shore, a beautiful reflection on the water. That valley down below is Pemberton and Mount Currie, and the valley drops away. It's really beautiful, but it's a really vast area. It's very spread out. If you were this couple camping at the lake, where would you go? Like, how would you disappear? We're in this basin, and if they came up the peaks of Cassiope or Saxifrage, did they go down the wrong side? Did they go to the north side where there's a glacier and fall into a crevasse, in which case, your body might not come out for 100 years if you fall into a glacier? Did they get lost and somehow end up going towards the Duffy, towards the south, or drop into some basin that is away from the trail? All of these are questions I don't have the answers to. When people disappear, you just wonder how it could have happened.
When Rachel didn't show up at home by Tuesday, September 7th, her sister Elizabeth contacted police and the search was initiated. Again, RCMP and SAR volunteers swung into action. Up to 50 searchers a day plus police dog and avidog teams were combing the area around Valentine Lake. The search area covered 175 square kilometers. 2,000 plus volunteer search hours were spent on the mountain and in the area, but they turned up empty-handed. They searched for over a month and into October. Dave Steers of Pemberton Search and Rescue has said to Peak News magazine, "We never found anything, nothing to prove that they were there." A year later, Jonathan Jede's parents and some family members flew out to BC in August to continue searching for 8 days. They paid professional mountain guides to help, like John Furneaux, who looked into crevasses and other technical areas of the mountain. Miguel Jete, Jonathan's younger brother, was present to help the search as well. Miguel has said, "For my parents, it's much more important to find them." I didn't uncover any clues that could help bring closure to this family. I can't begin to imagine what it's like to go through what they have. This is why SAR and police do super important work, even when it is recovering the bodies of the deceased. It gives families and loved ones closure. Without recovering bodies, there are only unanswered questions. I do have some important guidelines to follow when heading out into the mountains. Always tell someone your plan, where you'll be, and when to expect you back. If they don't hear from you, they can notify the authorities. Always bring more food and water than you'll think you'll need. And especially true in Canadian wilderness areas, always bring extra warm layers, down jackets, gloves, a toque, and a headlamp. There will never be zero risk. That is the fact that we cannot escape. But by minimizing risk and being prepared as we can be, we improve the odds of coming back alive. And that is the goal, to come back alive.
But it's a big area, it's spread out. The peaks are big here.